Test, 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 test. What's going on, YouTube? We are live. Let me go ahead and share this actually before we start diving in. Copy. Okay. Let me add in this link. Let me share this over. Share. Solid. Cool. Beautiful. Now, where else can I share this link at? Let's see. Okay. Let me share this to my Facebook community group, and we will dive in 1 second. Guys, this is going to be a really, really good one, whether you're watching live or if you're watching this on the replay. If you're watching live, comment down below live just so I know who is tuning in. And let me share this. I don't know why the thumbnail looks like that. That's kind of strange. I don't really like that. Anyways, all right, cool. You guys have my undivided attention now. So with that being said, this video is not sponsored by David's protein bars, but we are going to have them in the background because it does look a little bit more aesthetic. And shout out to my mother-in-law for hooking me up with these. So I'll give you guys the quick little rundown in terms of what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be all about metabolism. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to losing body fat, you got to make sure that your metabolism is firing on all cylinders. And there's a lot of myths when it comes to metabolism, when it comes to what you should do to speed it up and how to make it more effectively. And there's a lot of, in my opinion, just BS information that's out there. So I want to give some clarity. And you're going to find out a lot in today's video in terms of your metabolism and what you can actually do leaving today's presentation on how to speed it up and make it more effectively. I don't know why it looks like my ring light is flaring up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyways, you guys are going to see me from time to time. Also, just put my leg from up and down, up and down. I'll try to turn the camera as much as I can. There we go. Okay, so you can see this thing's wrapped up. I tore my Achilles tendon and I had surgery done. And I got to say, to be honest with you, like I never in a million years would ever expect my Achilles tendon to be tore, to rupture like how it did. Playing basketball too. You know, it's like I grew up playing basketball. But it's a blessing in disguise. And that's the way that I'm looking at it and taking it for what it is. Because at the end of the day, like one, I'm not going to be able to work out and train as I want to for probably the next like 8 to, 12 weeks. And that's obviously going to affect a lot. But with me being so focused on the nutrition, having the right mindset kind of dialed into it, I know for a fact that it's going to be a blessing in disguise. You know, where potentially someday somebody could say, hey, man, I hurt my ankle or I hurt my knee or I can't move. You know, like how can I still lose weight? How can I get off my medications? And because of my nutritional advice and mindset and coaching, I can still feel confident in helping that individual. So like I said, I'm taking this one for what it is. It's a blessing in disguise. It does hurt very bad, like very, very painful. It sucks, not going to lie. And at the end of the day, like, I don't think they can give me enough painkillers for it to take away the pain. All I want is it to not feel like there is a samurai with a sword literally cutting the back of my ankle and the back of my calf. Every time I'm up and down, moving around, I feel it. So with that being said, you guys did not come in here to listen to me talk about that. You guys came on here to learn more about your metabolism and what you can do to make it more faster, more effective. So that way you can start losing more body fat. Now, a lot of guys struggle when it comes to having a slow metabolism. And you can just look at them because if they have, let's say, the man boobs, so they're over 30% body fat. If they have the big beer belly, the big guts, right? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, typically their body fat percentage is so high, you can clearly see that they have a slow metabolism. But how is it that somebody has a slow metabolism? Like what is, first off, what even is somebody's metabolic rate? What even is somebody's metabolism? That is they transfer process, right? In terms of how we consume and digest our calories and utilize it for energy. That's it. As simple as that goes. You're eating food, right? Your body is understanding, okay, can we utilize this for energy or can we store it for fat? Okay. Now, if you could utilize it for energy, you have a fast metabolism. If your body's not going to utilize it for energy because you don't really work out, you don't really do much, you're not really active, your body's going to store it as fat. Okay. That is where your metabolism is in a nutshell. If we had to simplify it, okay. Guys often get a slow metabolism because of this. I don't care what anybody else says. This is like the truth. Okay. There is probably 9 out of 10 times when somebody signs up for our coaching program, they say that their problem is portion control. And if you think that your problem is portion control and why you are overweight and have high blood pressure, that's not the issue. The problem is you have a slow metabolism. So pay close attention because remember, in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to speed it back up, right? Make it more effective, make it more efficient. So guys think that the problem is portion control because anytime that they fall off track from their diets, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, they rebound, they regain all this weight right back, etc. And they once again feel like that's the issue. The problem, though, it has nothing to do with portion control because just about every guy that signs up for our coaching program that gets signed up, I give them their calories, I give them their macros, and they have a hard time hitting their nutritional goals because they tell me, oh man, this is so much food, Joe. Like, how am I going to eat all this food? Like, I thought this doesn't make any sense. I thought it was calories in versus calories out, right? And so, like, these guys struggle when it comes to eating enough food. And when they actually start eating enough food for their body type, how I have it scheduled for them and programmed, they start losing body fat. How is that possible? And it's simply because we believe about calories in versus calories out. We believe that carbs are the enemy. We believe that, eating past 8 p.m. at night is going to make us store all this body fat. And like this gives us this horrible relationship with food, first off. Second, we don't know what to do. So we start throwing all these different things up on the whiteboard and hoping and praying something sticks, right? We don't know what happens. And it shoots us in our foot because anytime that we're trying this diet or cutting out these carbohydrates or not eating past 7 or doing this and doing that, typically it's always the same old song and dance. You're eating in a very low calorie deficit and it's typically not sustainable. And when life throws you stress or curveballs or work or injuries or anything like that, you fall off track, you go right back to your old eating habits. But in the very beginning stages of that diet that you tried to lose weight in the very beginning, yeah, you were losing weight, but because it was so low in calories, because it was, so low probably in protein also, realistically, you probably lost some muscle in the process. And that is essentially what made you slow down your metabolism. Don't worry. I'm going to share with you guys this little analogy here in a second using this cup that's going to help you guys out so much when it comes to your metabolism. But just hear me out before we get to that, okay? So when somebody does these diets, right, keto, paleo, carnivore, all of them, right, they're all the same thing. Eat in a very low calorie deficit and you're going to lose weight. But once again, weight loss and fat loss are two separate things. Somebody could be severely under eating, and when they fall off track because it's not sustainable, they regain all the weight right back. That weight loss that could be coming back could be body fat because initially what actually made them lose the weight in the very beginning because they were eating so low in calories was them losing muscle, So I want to make sure that as we progress, you guys are focusing on losing body fat. That's what I focus on. I don't care about the number on the scale, and neither should you. Somebody could weigh 200 pounds, have six-pack abs, tons of energy, confidence, great health markers. And once again, they weigh 200 pounds, but they could be 10% body fat. And somebody else could weigh exactly the same, 200 pounds, but they could be 30% body fat. They could have high blood pressure, high A1C levels, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, right? Man boobs, beer belly, joint pain, same weight. Two different types of people, though, based on their body fat percentage. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into metabolism, right? But let's first start identifying, do you have a slow metabolism? Okay. If let's just say you struggle when it comes to having energy, you have a slow metabolism. Like you're constantly tired, you have a slow metabolism. If you're overweight, like over 30% body fat or over 25% body fat even, right? Man boobs, beer belly, love handles, you have a slow metabolism. If you have maybe high blood pressure, high A1C levels, odds are you have a slow metabolism. if let's just say that when you try your best to eat healthy and eat clean, and like if somebody was going to be like, hey man, having 150, 200 grams of protein, and let's say you're like 300 pounds and you can barely even eat that much protein, you're like, man, I feel so full, feel so bluff and just stuffed and bloated. Yeah, you probably have a slow metabolism, right? So these are like telltale signs that your metabolic rate is slow down. And going back to this now, how do we describe that? Well, let me first explain. There's only two ways on how somebody can actually store body fat. So pay close attention because this is what's really going to help somebody out, okay? Let's just say that this glass represents your body. And let's just say that the liquids, even though there's no liquids inside, but this is your body fat, okay? Now, this middle of the glass, this is what's called your maintenance. So if you're eating the calories right and it's around this maintenance, right, you're not gaining weight, you're not losing weight. Now, if you're overeating from the maintenance and you're going to the very top of the glass, you're in what's called a calorie surplus. That's not a bad thing. I'll explain that here in a little bit, okay? Now, from the middle of the glass to the very bottom of the glass, that's called a calorie deficit. That's ideally where you want to be in if you want to lose body fat. Now, let me explain how somebody could store body fat. There's two ways using this, okay? Pay close attention because remember, everybody thinks it's just, oh, I'm just going to overeat, right? And eventually it's going to spill out. Yeah, that's 100% true. But there's another way on how to store body fat that maybe that's why you're watching this video right now. And maybe that's why you need some assistance. So think about it like this, right? Maintenance to the very top of the glass, right? That's your surplus. Once again, that's not a bad thing because you could be eating in a calorie surplus and putting on muscle and not storing body fat. It's only when we're overeating is when the liquids obviously overflow, and that's how we're storing body fat, okay? But, all right, this is the main reason why guys store body fat. It's not because of that. It's because of this, right? Happens, right? They're at their calorie maintenance. They try to do this keto, paleo, carnivore, Weight Watchers, Noom, whatever, right? Try to do these different diets and these big restrictions, right? And these big changes to their lifestyle where their maintenance drops because they don't go from eating in a calorie deficit. They go from eating all the way down here, right? And when you're not able to get in enough food, remember, food equals fuel. That's what I coach our members at Heartletics. So if you're not able to eat enough of the right calories and the right macros to maintain your muscle, you're going to lose your muscle. So once again, if you're severely under eating, you're going to be all the way down here. And that is what slows down somebody's maintenance, their metabolic rates, right? They go from here, the middle of the glass, to then over here. Because remember, somebody's essentially eating all the way down here. Not good. And that's why they're storing body fat. And then what happens is they eventually fall off track because it's not sustainable and they regain all that weight right back. But remember, they already lost that muscle in the process. Their metabolic rate, right there in the maintenance, then the middle, it's already went down. So it's all the way down here when they start going back to their old ways, and all that weight that's coming back is once again body fat. We don't want that, right? You're not going to regain your muscle back just like that. It doesn't work that way, okay? So hopefully that makes sense because I want this to be easy. I mean, at the end of the day, like I want everybody to look good and feel good because that's what makes this world fun to live in. You know, I want to give you guys all the information, free advice, take it, run with it, simplify in the best way possible. And just letting you know that at the end of the day, what's typically stopping somebody is themselves, right? Because their mindset, their self-limiting beliefs, they tried all this and whatever. Like sometimes you just got to ignore. I get it, right? There's YouTube, there's Google, there's ChatGPT, there's all these things and all this information. And I get it. It can be very confusing because you don't know who to believe. You don't know who to trust, right? Somebody's telling you to eat carbs. Somebody's telling you to avoid carbs. It's confusing. I get it. Let me simplify this for you the best way possible. If you can focus on doing something and stick with it, and if it's sustainable, right, meaning that like you enjoy what you're doing, whether it's training, whether it's this, diet, this nutrition plan, if it's actually sustainable, right, which means you can do it and not just do it on a easy week, but do it when life throws you curveballs, right, whether that's stress, work, right, family stuff, right, eating out. If you can still stick with that, then guess what? That's going to be sustainable for you. Okay. Stop worrying about what do I need to do to get the best results. Focus on what can I do and get the results, whether it takes 12 weeks or whether it takes 12 months, it doesn't matter. I can maintain that for 12 years. If you have that mindset, I promise you, you're always going to have success on your health and fitness journey. Now, guys, give me one quick second because I got to put down my leg. If you guys are just tuning in, you guys know I talked about in the beginning of the live stream, I tore my Achilles tendon and it's in a lot of pain. And sometimes when I have it elevated too much, it hurts bad. And I gotta just put it down. It's in a lot of pain, guys. This is not fun. Like I said, I've been through a lot of injuries, having MMA fights, boxing, but this Achilles tendon, that's been the worst thing by far. I don't wish upon my worst enemy. Anyways, back to sustainability on you with your fat loss journey. It's about figuring out what works best for you. Don't waste time going on YouTube and Google, finding some 20-year-old kid that, lives at home in his parents' basement and he goes to college. He doesn't have any kids, doesn't even have a job. Stop trying to follow his routine. Follow a routine that works for you because you might be in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. You might have kids. You might have a lot of stress. You might like alcohol. You might like sweets. You might like this. That's great. Right? You got to figure out what is going to work best for you because that's what's going to be sustainable at the end of the day. That's what we focus on, right? When it comes to coaching our members and creating for them personalized plans for them to follow. Ones that, whether they go to the gym or work out right at home, whether they have any kind of past occurring injuries. Some people can only work out, 10 minutes a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that works for them. Other people, they have more time, more flexibility. Regardless, right? It's all about a personalized plan. Same thing with nutrition. A lot of our coaching members, they don't want to eat from a meal plan. They don't want to eat differently from their family at home. They want to still dine out and go out and have some cocktails and some beers on the weekends. And that's okay. We just teach them how to fit it in, right? We throw that all into their plans. So that way they know exactly how to reach their results, right? And then we hold them accountable to success. That is the glue that holds it all together. It's accountability, right? Which equals consistency. That's what you need to follow, right? If you want to be successful. Don't worry about, once again, this diet and this program and somebody that you're looking up to and that you see. You just got to make sure that what you're following is sustainable for your body type, your busy schedule, and your lifestyle. Do you enjoy it? And are you seeing results? That's it. Because if you can master all that, you're going to stay in the game a lot longer. Because when life does throw you curveballs, which it will, you're going to be more inclined to actually stick to it because you're going to be like, okay, hey, I can handle this. It's sustainable. I can still, get these steps in. I can still do these push-ups. Like even, being injured or even whatever the case may be, traveling, I can still do this. That's what matters the most. Now, let's get into, since we just talked about metabolism and long story ran over with about the sustainability, let's get into 3 ways on how you can speed up your metabolism. Okay. So if you're over the age of 40, pay close attention. Because once again, the reason why, if you have the man boobs, if you have the beer belly, high blood pressure, high A1C, high cholesterol, it has nothing to do with portion control at all. It has everything to do, right, with you having a slow metabolism. If you cannot eat and hit your protein target and you feel full, you feel bloated, you feel stuffed, you have a slow metabolism. If you are over 30% body fat, right, the man boobs, the beer belly, the gut, right, over 30% body fat, you probably have a slow metabolism. If you struggle, right, when it comes to just moving around and energy and sleep and sex drive, you probably have a slow metabolism. Here's 3 tips, right, on what you can do to speed it up. Number 1, focus on eating properly, okay? Ignore everything that you hear about carbs, about eating past at 8 p.m. at night. Ignore all that stuff. Let me make this very simple for you. Take your body weight and multiply it by 0.8, right? 0.8. So I'm going to pull up a calculator right now. Most people that sign up for our coaching program are typically around like 220 to 350 pounds. So we're going to use, let's say 300, let's use 280. So let's say somebody's 280 pounds, multiply it by 0.8, that's 224, okay? Let's round down, say 220, make it simple, okay? That's how much protein you should be consuming, right? And eating each and every day, all right? Now, if let's just say you start off trying your best to have that and you can't, you feel full, you feel bloated, you feel stuffed. Once again, that is a telltale sign that you have a slow metabolism, but it's okay. Because the more consistent you are, the more you practice, the more you try your best. Don't get discouraged. If you can't hit that protein overnight, it's going to take some time, just like riding a bike, right? Practice makes perfect. If you can continue, right, to try your best over time, you're going to start, feeling hungrier faster. You're not going to feel so bloated. You're not going to feel so stuffed. And that's going to help you with, once again, knowing that you're on the right journey with speeding up your metabolism. And eventually it's going to become easier for you to hit that number. Now, if you can surpass that number and go higher, awesome, go higher, right? It's not going to hurt you. So that's tip number 1, okay? Use an app. Don't focus on like manually writing stuff down, like, oh, this protein has this many grams, and this egg white has this many grams. Just use an app. Our members use our app just because it's easy. It's all inclusive. Their workouts, the nutrition logging, the mindset, the coaching, the accountability support. It's all right there for you. Find an app that's just you like to use. Okay, it just makes things simple. The second tip is focus on strength training. Okay. Now, that does not mean going to the gym, because I would say probably about 70 to 75% of our members, they actually work out right at home. So for you, you can still do that, right? If you don't go to the gym, you can still do that right at home. And you might be saying to yourself like, yeah, but Joe, how do I do that if I'm at home? And what if you don't have equipment? Well, let me ask you a question. Okay. Realistically, if you're over 30% body fat and you have a slow metabolism, the man boobs, the beer belly, and all that stuff, stop thinking that, hey, you need to go to the gym, and stop thinking that you need to do, these workouts with these equipment, because I bet you anything that if you do look that way with the man boobs and the beer belly, you're not doing anything right now. Right? So I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just being honest. You're not doing anything right now. You're as sedentary as it can be. So my suggestion for you is start with something, right? Don't worry about trying to become the best. Worry about doing something, because right now you're doing nothing, right? And that could be just push-ups. That could be just sit-ups. That could be just giving yourself a step goal, right? But it's something where it's movement involved and you're pushing yourself, and then you could progress. So if let's just say you're 280 pounds, once again, 45 years old, 3 kids, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, your doctor's about to put you on metformin for A1C levels, you don't like how you look, you don't like how you feel, here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. We just talked about nutrition, right? So say you're going to start eating no more protein. Now you also want to focus on, maybe you don't have access to a gym, you've never really worked out before. All right. I would give yourself something simple that you can do each and every day. It's better to build momentum, right? And keep that momentum going rather than stop, start, right? Once again, this is why New Year's resolutions typically don't work the best for most people. So I would give yourself a goal saying, hey, week number 1, let's just focus on push-ups, because that's a compound movement, meaning that like we're not just working out our chest, but we're working out, let's just say, a little bit of our biceps, our triceps, and our shoulders, right? Doing that exercise. So that's good, right? And maybe if you want to do something else like squats, awesome. Now we have our glutes, our quads, our hamstrings. We got 2 exercises, okay? Give yourself a habit. And let's say each and every day, you want to start off with maybe that first week, maybe 50 push-ups and 50 squats. And maybe week number 2, bump it up, right? Maybe you're doing 100 push-ups, 100 squats. Week 3, right? Maybe it's 150. But you can see here, right? By you just listening to me telling you that, what I just said about the protein, which is, hey, I didn't say cut out the carbs. I didn't say stop eating past 8 o'clock. I didn't say, do all this crazy nonsense. I just say, hey, eat more protein, man. And what I just said about the push-ups and the squats, you're probably realistically thinking in your head, man, that's simple. I can do that. And that's what I want you to feel like. Now, you might have something in the back of your head, like that bad wolf that's going to be saying, yeah, but that's not going to work. That's too easy. Like, it's going to take way too long. Yeah, that's that voice that you need to punch in its mouth and get it to shut up, because that's the voice that you have been continuing to feed and why you look and feel the way that you do right now. So my advice, listen to what I have to say, because it's going to work for you. I know it will. Right? So start off small, push-ups and squats, and just focus on that. But you want to focus on the strength training. Now, if you go to the gym, if you have equipment, use it, obviously, because that's going to help you with faster, better results overall, right? Different ways to skin a cat. That's it. The last tip, and this is so important for most guys over the age of 40, because they don't have this. Guys over the age of 40, they, graduate from college or high school. They either go into the military or they go into, once again, further on their education, getting their degrees. Eventually they get a job, right? They get married, they have some kids, and that's it. Meaning that like their boys that they had back in the day, whether it was in college or the military or high school, they don't really talk to these days. They just primarily see their coworkers and their spouse and their kids. That's it. So the third tip that we're going to go over is very important, because you might be that guy that, hey, has your macros dialed in, has your strength training dialed in. But if you don't know how to listen to what I'm about to tell you next and really amplify on this tip right here, it's never going to help you lower your stress, and you're going to be spiking your cortisol levels. And it doesn't matter if you have your calories and macros, your strength training, your cardio. It doesn't matter if you have that dialed in. you're never going to get the results that you want when it comes to losing that stubborn belly fat and maybe getting off your medications because your cortisol levels are spiked. It's elevated. Put my leg down real quick. Whoo, it hurts. So hear me out. Tip number 3, right? When it comes to speed up your metabolic rate, you got to lower the stress. Okay. You can't build muscle if your cortisol levels are spiked. Cortisol is your natural stress hormone, right? You can't build muscle if your cortisol levels are spiked. You can't lose body fat, right? If your cortisol levels are spiked. Like, you need to focus on lowering the stress. Think about this as, let's say there's a factory, a machine building, whatever, and they're making some kind of widgets or products, and like the machines are on, but there's a fire alarm going, right? So fire alarm's going off. All the employees, they go outside the building. Now, even though they go outside the building, the machines are still on. The electricity is still running inside of that factory. But once again, like, there's no employees there. Nobody's working on it. So that's kind of how your body is. It's like your hormones, when it comes to building muscle and losing fat, they're not actually working in your favor. Like, they're still there, but they're not actually working on those machines. They're not actually working on those hormones to help you with the fat loss and help you with the muscle building, because fire alarm's going off, code red, cortisol levels are spiked. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So stress could be, once again, sleeping more. That's a form of recovery, right? Stress management could also be eating properly, right? That's a form of recovery, getting your body out of that starvation mode. It could be drinking plenty of water. Our body's over 70% water, right? We're not drinking enough. Obviously, we're dehydrated. That's stress on the body, right? All these things are spiking stress. Taking you out of your routine is stressful. Bills are stressful. Work is stressful. Not sleeping enough is stressful. Traveling, right? Stressful. These different things are injuries, right? These different things, right? Spike stress, spike cortisol levels. So our job is to make sure that we are lowering these stress, and we could do this through holistic practices. That's what we focus on inside of our coaching program. So maybe that's just like talking, venting, getting stuff off your chest. And that's why, once again, I started off with this by saying most guys over the age of 40, they don't have community. They don't have support. They don't really have accountability or guys in their corner. So they just kind of like bundle stuff in, bundle in all that stress, right? Until it's the Mentos that drops in the Coke, explodes. This is how you solve this. This is how you fix it. You talk, you vent, you get stuff off your chest. You have different mindset practices, whether it's like meditation or journaling or breath work, different things like that can help you relieve that stress. And I think also just having like guys in your corner and accountability. Like, for example, one of my coaching members, newest member, Kenny, shout out to him if he's watching this. He put down in his check-in form that, this was a really bad week for him. He couldn't do any workouts. His week rotated because he's on a rotating swing shift. So first, second, and third shift. So it rotates every single week. So this past week, he said, man, I had the hardest time adjusting, couldn't get my workouts in. The new schedule has just been crazy. We're working graveyard shift. So like at that time on his check-in, I was able to educate him and tell him like, hey man, we actually had this issue with Coach Brian when he first got started off at Heartletics. And here's what we did. And this is what helped him. I'll get Brian to reach out to you. I'll give him, to share some tips with you inside the community group. And here's also what you should do also if I was in your shoes. So now Kenny's watching his check-in video and he's like, oh man, this is great. These guys are walking in my shoes. Now I give him different tips, perspectives, different blind spots that he's not able to see, right? That I'm able to see as his coach and guide him through that, right? And so he's able to take all that guesswork because now ball's in our court, and like that's how he's able to progress. But you can see like there's no stress on his plate at all. So for you, once again, you need accountability. You need support. You need guidance. You need anything that's going to help you lower that stress, whatever it is. And stress, once again, isn't just injuries. It isn't just travels. It isn't just finances. Stress is so many different factors, right? And this is where it's like, if you can just get the right people in your corner, helping you and supporting you, like that could help out big time. So I hope that you guys got some value from today's YouTube live stream. If you did, definitely leave a comment down below. Also, if you're watching this, in the description box down below are 3 free resources, my gifts to you. The first one is a free 7-day health reset. This is going to go over the best tips and tricks and different plans to follow, 3 of them to be exact. Plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for when life throws you curveballs. But this guide is to help you lower the blood pressure, lower the belly fat, lower the A1C levels. And then also the second link is going to be just a free guide when it comes to losing body fat, going over our 3-step protocol. This is by far what has been our, I like to say, flagship, what has really been the reason why our coaching members are successful when it comes to losing fat and keeping it off. Since 2017, we talk about thousands of guys and hundreds of guys off their medications. And that's where that guide is going to help you out. And then the last link, right, is just to schedule a free strategy call with myself or somebody from my team. If you want just any more tips and tricks, guidance, going over you in terms of like, here's what you're currently doing with your workouts. Here's what you're currently doing right with your nutrition. And maybe you want us to kind of help you out when it comes to some assistance, maybe just coach you over that call and help you see any kind of blind spots that maybe you're missing out on. That's where that link is going to definitely be a value to you. But other than that, guys, this has been Coach Joe with Heartletics.com, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Peace out, Girl Scouts.